Today, we're talking all about how I personally schedule my time, and I'm also going to give you a resource for learning how to schedule your time as well. So, if that's something you've been interested in, this is an episode for you. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our sponsor, Jane. So Jane is an all-in-one practice management software. It's my favorite, with features like online booking, scheduling, documentation, and a PCI-compliant payment solution. The time that you spend with your patients and clients is super valuable, and filling out forms during their appointment can quickly take away time from your evaluation and all of your treatment time together. That's why the team at Jane has designed online intake forms that your patients can complete from the comfort of their own homes. And to help them remember to fill out their forms, Jane has your back with a friendly email reminder that gets sent out 24 hours prior to their appointment. And this means that they arrive ready to start their appointment and you can arrive ready to help. Jane's online intake forms are fully customizable. They truly are very customizable. They are the best to ensure that you're collecting everything you need ahead of time, whether that's a credit card on file, insurance billing details, or signed consent. You can build your intake forms from scratch or use a template from Jane's template library and customize it further to meet your practice needs. If you're interested in learning more, head to jane.app/guide or use the code LEX1MO, so LEX1MO at sign up to receive a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. So excited to record this episode. I am recording it, like I said, just after I recorded last week's episode, because this past week I'm also going to be talking in like past, present, future, whatever. Regardless, by the time you're listening to this, you will probably have known, if you've been on socials, that Shantae and I have moved into a new house. So excited. I'm so excited to have an office. Haven't had an office since probably March, and I am so pumped. It's going to give me a lot of space for creation. It's going to give me a lot of space to do a lot of things that I haven't been doing recently. And just having your own office, having a space to do all of your work is just super fulfilling for me. And it's definitely part of my rich life. So I'm so excited to essentially get that back. And other than that, because I'm recording this early, I don't have any other life updates because that's the big life update. And if you have been on social, you probably already knew that, but I do want to also say it on the podcast and just I'm just so happy, so thankful, so excited, and just really pumped to, have all the things to come. I'm just so excited for all of the things to come in this new space and just having all of the goodness as far as like, this is now our space and we're going to have space for Rupert and Moose and all of the things. And we have multiple outdoor spaces. I'm just so happy. So thank you so much for sharing in that joy and sharing in our joy. And just, we truly appreciate you. So that's really all I have for you for updates. Business updates, it's the same as it was last week. Just going to run through them really quick just because I want to make sure that if you didn't listen to last week's episode, you're aware of other life updates or other business updates that I have. Number one, if you are interested in the Done For You SEO, there's likely going to be a spot open in September, potentially onward. Grab your spot on the wait list for that. It is for brick and mortar businesses only at this point, not for online businesses. So if you're a brick and mortar business who is looking for Done For You SEO, make sure you get your name on that wait list. Second thing, SEO School. So SEO School will open and start in November. It'll open for registration probably late October. So if you're interested in SEO School, please get your name on the wait list. If you're just curious about what SEO School is, feel free to click the link in the show notes. It will bring you to my sales page and you will see all the details there. Lastly, Shantae and I are doing our joint coaching program, business coaching plus Done For You tech all in one. You know how we rock and roll. We are very much so action oriented. We'll help you get shit done. So if you're interested in that, like I said, there is no commitment as far as getting your name on the wait list, but you'll be first to be notified when we do launch and announce all the things. So jump on that wait list if you are interested. So that's all I got for you. And next week, I'm sure I'll have more life updates because I'll be recording that episode in a timely fashion, if you will. That's what happens when you pre-record episodes, but this is life, and I want to make sure that I drop new content each week. So thanks for bearing with me, and thanks for listening. And it's just really, really important to me that, I don't miss a week because I am doing X, Y, and Z in my personal life. It just is really important to me to get these episodes out to you because I know that a lot of people are listening to them and finding a lot of value. So I want to make sure we don't take that break. So let's do it. This week I'm going to run this a little bit differently than I typically do because this is not going to be a solution. It's going to be a solution, but kind of like a back end solution as far as like, this is what I do. You can try it. If it's going to work for you, cool. If it doesn't, then okay, it's fine. So I'm just going to tell you what I do when I schedule out my week, my month, my year, etc. And I'm just going to be blatantly honest about it because I think people will see the way that my Instagram is. They will see how I run things in my business, as far as like launches or whatever it may be. And they might have an idea of how I run things, but I just want to get my side of the truth out there about how I run my business and what I do yearly, weekly, monthly, etc. So first things first, I want to say that I actually back in January did a coaching call with Shantae and she audited my week. So if you need someone, if you feel like your shit is like all over the place and you're not sure where to start with organizing your week and organizing your time, please just go book a Meister meeting. Like I understand, like at this point, I am biased. I understand that. And I have been biased for 5 years, but I want to say that that was one of the biggest game changers for me. And I changed a lot in my business after that call. So if you truly feel like your shit is all over the place, you're not sure where to start and you want to schedule your week out better and you want to feel less overwhelmed, please go book a call and have your week and your schedule audited. It's very, very helpful. And that's truly what helped me a lot. So I'm kind of riffing on things. So I have a couple notes written down, like stuff that I want to make sure that I say. But other than that, I'm really just going to riff on my schedule because it's a little bit like less structured than I think people assume, which is kind of funny. So let's just start off with my year. My year has gotten more and more quote unquote planned out the longer I've been in business. So I would just kind of wing it in the beginning as far as like, what am I launching? When am I announcing this? When am I doing this? Like if it felt good, I would do it. And I didn't have a schedule of March, April, May, June, like when I was actually launching things. It was just kind of on a whim because that's what felt good. And that's what made sense. Like I was just getting started. I wasn't really sure what I was offering. I didn't know. Nowadays, I will say, I have a little bit more structure. So because of the way that I launch SEO school and I do 6 months of support with that, I'm now finding that it's nice to start SEO school in about November so that the first cohort, if you will, of Q&A calls ends before summer starts. And I'm actually going to figure out when the best time is to start the second cohort, if it's going to be midwinter or if it's going to be in beginning of summer. I don't know yet. And that's going to be something that I figure out along the way because I just started doing it twice a year rather than once. So I don't know yet. I haven't decided. But the way that I schedule that out, if you will, is I look at my calendar and I say, okay, when do I want it to be done? And I backtrack the 6 months of Q&A calls. And then I schedule my launch, 2 weeks prior to that. I learned all the things I needed to learn about launching from Shantae and also Jill too, just because of what I've seen her do. So that's who I've learned my style, if you will, of launching. So not going to get into that now because that's not my zone of genius. My zone of genius is definitely more on like the tech side of launches. So if you're looking for coaching on that, definitely get Shantae on your team. Anyway, my biggest thing that I want to talk about is like how I schedule my time during the week and how things have really changed. So when I first started my business, I was obviously, if you listen to the episode of like what it took to open up a brick and mortar and online business, I think it was like episode 2 or 3, I can't remember. But if you listen to that, you know that I started my business and I was doing like a million jobs because I didn't want to burn the ships. I couldn't burn the ships. I was a new grad. I had a gazillion dollars in loans. I still do, by the way. And I needed to pay for all my things. So I couldn't just like not work and just take this online business from from the ground up without any sort of income. So I was working a lot of different jobs. So I would do this work whenever I could fit it in. And that was honestly like how I quote unquote scheduled my week. I worked upwards of 120 hours a week. Like I was working anywhere between 90 to 120 hours between all my jobs. And it was just like, when can I fit it in? And I would do it then. So with that being said though, I recognize that feels stressful, and it was definitely stressful. It's something that I don't want to do again. I don't have any interest in doing again. So it's not something that I'm advocating for. But if I were to go back and do that again, I would definitely choose to schedule things in that I didn't want to skip. So I would schedule my life in before my business so that I always made time to do life things. I feel like in the first couple of years of my business, I did lose a lot of life time, and I didn't do a lot of recreational activities, and I didn't go out a lot. Now, I also think that small sacrifice was very worth it, but there were times when I think if I did do a little bit more fun, I would have more capacity because I wasn't as, flooded or drowning, if you will, in my business. So for what it's worth. Now let's jump to now. So how I schedule my time at this point. I mentioned in my software episode that I just had last week that I use Google Calendar, and I map out my entire month. So I actually open up my calendar on a monthly basis. So at any given time, if you go to book a discovery call with me, there will only be availability for the current month and the next month. I have started doing that this year, and it's been the absolute best, because what I found was that when I was allowing people, when I had my schedule open for multiple months, people would book discovery calls and they'd book coaching calls 3 months in advance. And then I'd find out, I'd be like, oh man, that discovery call no longer works because something came up in my life and now I need to reschedule it. So I only open up my schedule a month ahead of time. And it's been so nice because I have kind of complete control, if you will, that I have complete control over the fact that I can take calls or not take calls, or do it in a day job, or whatever I want it to be. I have control over that. And it's not just for, 6 months down the road. It's every single month that I get to decide, am I going to work on this day? Am I not going to work on this day? So that's just where I'm at as far as that goes. So let's talk about, and like I said, I'm riffing. I'm not going down a checklist. This is just my thought process. I also schedule in, and this is something that I learned from Shantae, I schedule in my fun first and my recreational stuff first. So if I know that I want to do X, Y, and Z activity on a certain day of the week and I need to have time for it, I will schedule that in before I do work. So I will schedule in my fun, and then my fun will then be scheduled, if you will, on my calendar, and I'll schedule work in around that. So that's just a quick little tip. If you are struggling to do recreational activities or struggling to find time to read a book, schedule that in your schedule and then schedule the rest of your stuff around it for business. So super valuable lesson that I learned there. Now, when it comes to my weekly schedule, so I'm going to be real in this episode. I told you business, life, and tech. This is more like business and tech, or business and life. Being real, I struggled really, really hard for a couple years trying to figure out what actually works. And this is me being honest about it, because I am now past it and I've figured out what works for me, what works for my business, and what makes sense. So I struggled, like I said, for a couple years, just trying to get that down. At this point, I'm very, very comfortable, and I know what I can and can't do in a certain amount of time, and what actually feels good for my body and just my business in general. So, like I said, I schedule my fun in first. Then I'll schedule my work. I used to be the person who would feel guilty for not answering an email right away. That's not something that I feel guilty about anymore. So I actually have email blocks scheduled in my calendar, and I'll get to however many emails I can get to. If I don't get to them, that's okay. I'll get to them when I get to them, and I'll get to them in my next email block. The only people who I answer regularly and on a specific timeline are my retainer clients. So my retainer clients have more access to me. They have the most access to me because they have Voxer, so voice app access, and they have email access. And I answer them much faster than I answer other people, just because they are paying a retainer to have access to me. And that is just how it works now. So if you're someone who, feels like they have an inbox full of X, Y, and Z emails and they have to get back to all of them in one day, know that you don't have to. And it's very, very easy to just put an email answering block in your schedule. And that's just working on your business. That's a working on your business thing. And it's been very helpful for me. So if you're struggling with that, that's one suggestion that I have. The other thing that I want to talk about is how I actually split up my days. So I used to be the person to schedule live calls every day of the week. So I'd have a live call on Monday morning at 8, Monday afternoon at 2, and I'd have live calls all day Tuesday, half the day Wednesday, most of the day on Thursday, some of the time on Friday. And that got to be so exhausting for me. So I actually stopped doing that altogether. I only have live calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this point. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are my live days. Other than that, it's all back end work. So whether that's working on my business, in my business, whatever you want to call it, I'm working on my computer, not doing live calls Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Tuesday, Thursday are the only days that I take calls with clients. My retainer clients, I will schedule them outside those hours if they need it, but most of them make Tuesday and Thursday work. So that's another thing I did. So if you're finding that you have Zoom fatigue, which was a huge, huge thing for me and a huge lesson for me to learn, you can also just not do Zoom every day and it doesn't hurt your business. It's fine. People make it work and I feel much better. Like I am not exhausted from being on Zoom multiple days a week. I get to have my introverted, leave me alone, I'm working on my computer days, and they really, really fill my cup back up. And it's not that Tuesdays and Thursdays are exhausting for me. It's just I get to keep all of my energy and my expendable energy for client-facing things to 2 days a week. That allows me to do other things on the back end of my business without being client-facing 3 days of the week. So just another quick tidbit. Lastly, the other thing that I want to talk about is how my schedule has evolved. So I know I had mentioned I was working a lot of hours. I was working multiple jobs. At this point, I am basically working most days from about 10:30 to 4:30, and I will work straight through. I am the person who will, start my day later now, which is very, very interesting. So if you contacted me about 6 months ago, I started my workday at 6:30 a.m. pretty much, and I wouldn't stop until, 6:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m., but I also like it. So it's one of those things where I am a huge proponent of doing what you like to do. And if you like to do it, then do it. Like if you like a really, really long Tuesday so you don't have to work on Wednesday, cool, amazing, do that. For me, I found that starting work early and working all day and taking breaks throughout the day, taking walking breaks was really, really suitable for that period of my life. At this point, I really, really love, we go for a walk every morning. We go for a walk every night. I cook breakfast every single day and I love it. So my day will start at about 10 or 10:30, and that's my working hours. So 10 or 10:30 in the morning, and I stop work at 4:30. Now, I also say that, and you should know that there are nights where at 8:30 p.m. I'm on my computer doing work. I get control over that, and it's not every day, but it is some days. I'm going back on my computer at 8:30 at night. And it will be by my choice. It'll be like, I really want to get this done, or I don't want to get this done. I don't want to do it tomorrow, so I'm going to do it today. So I'm also working on the weekends. So currently working on Sunday. It's Sunday at 5:15 in the afternoon, and I'm working. So it's one of those things where I like to say, here's an inside look. This is what it's like for me. I'm not saying it has to be like this for you. I'm not saying it should be like this for you. I'm saying that if it is like this for you, cool. It's fine. And if it works for you, amazing. If you're someone who's like, I work on the weekends and I hate it, then fix it. Just don't work on the weekends and do something else during the week so you don't have to work on the weekends. There are tons of things that you can do to control that. But this was like an inside look at the fact that like I have had the time where it wasn't working. I didn't find, joy in working 120 hours a week. And I was getting very stressed at the thought that if I took a weekend off, like how behind would I get? And at this point, it's like I will work my ass off during the time that I am working so that in the times that I'm not working, I can do what I love. And always scheduling that in first and work around that really, really helps. So like I said, I will use that Google Calendar and everything goes in there. my workout, my walks, my volleyball time, my membership client time, my retainer client time, my back end work time, my email answering time, my open call time. If someone wants to book a coaching call or book a done for you service, I have like open time in my schedule, and I will have all of that in my calendar, and I'll know, okay, I have 3 hours open on the 24th, or I have 2 hours open on the 25th. Can I fit in a job? Or if someone books a discovery call, they'll see that on my calendar of availability. So I'm very, very strategic about how I schedule myself, just because I have been on the side of holy fuck, I am so tired. I love what I do, but I'm exhausted and I need to shut down. And shut down meaning just sleep. Like, I'm just tired. And like I said, a big thing for me was having that meeting with Shantae to audit my week, see what I'm doing, nail the productivity piece, and just figure out what needs to go and what needs to stay. And now at this point, I feel very comfortable starting my day later, working really, really hard during the hours that I'm working, and then shutting myself off and allowing myself to have the time for myself at the end of my day. And it's just been so life-changing. So that's really how I schedule my week and how I schedule my month, how I schedule my year. That's a little bit of my background as far as like what I've been and what I was doing, etc. And I really think that it's been super powerful to go through that journey, because now I can say, this doesn't work for me. This does work for me. And it's just been amazing. So that is really all I have for you. I am just trying to think about all the check boxes that I wanted to make sure I went over today. And I think I've hit them all. I think that's where I'm at. I feel like I just can't stress enough the fact that if you expend all of your energy doing things you don't like to do, or if you don't make room for the things that you love and you just fill your days with work, it gets to be really difficult. And you can do it for a short amount of time, but when you do it for a long period of time over and over again, it just gets to be exhausting. So I will just say that for me, that was my biggest game changer. And I also want to say that there's a lot of people who do a lot of different methods of working. For me, work means I'm at my computer doing things, and I also take breaks and like look at my phone while I'm doing things. I'm not the person who, I'm only on one task, only on task 2, and I don't look at a different task. So at any given moment, I'm probably doing 2 or 3 things at the same time, and they're likely the same type of task. So if I'm uploading a podcast for someone, I might be editing a video for another person's podcast while the podcast is uploading in another screen. So I definitely have gotten to the point where I'm doing multiple things at a time, and I really, really enjoy that, because it just is a great way for me to sort my day, and I find a lot of joy in that. So you have to figure out ways to make it work and make sure you're scheduling in things that fill your cup up. So that's all I got for you. I know it's like a ramble episode. It wasn't like a completely like check the box episode, which is more or less my style, but I also wanted to give you a little bit of an inside look of like what my week looks like. And if you email me on Monday, I might not get back to you until Friday, because I didn't get to this email until it was inside my email block that I have on Friday afternoon, or my email block that I have on Tuesday. So that's really how it works on my end. I would welcome questions on that. And I also will once again pitch Shantae's Maestro meeting, because that's where I got a lot of these ideas from, as far as how to schedule my week, how to schedule my joy in first, and what things really make sense in my week and where I'm losing time, etc. So that's all I got for you. I am super excited to give you more life updates next week. And without further ado, thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.